Now is the time for video games. The winter of our, that whole thing. It's Wednesday. We're going to get into some of the video games that we talked about on the podcast yesterday. And I'm excited to play some more Karateka. We'll mess with some of the old versions, but we'll get into the remaster, which I haven't finished, which I did not play to completion because I died. We'll get into that. And I want to see if anyone is still playing the AEW Fight Forever Battle Royale mode, and so on and so forth. And so we will get into that. But first, my wife found this. I don't know where she found this. She found this at a dollar store. Wired. I'm at a point now where I need to double check and make sure, because I've seen this brand around, but I don't think. Yeah, we've not. We have not tried this thing. Wired X 344, 344 milligrams of caffeine. And that's all it says. Like, if you go in here and, if you go down here and look, it says that it has 2,900 milligrams of taurine, 344 milligrams of caffeine, something called inositol guarana seed extract, white tea extract, which wouldn't white tea extract also have more caffeine in it? This seems shitty. This seems like a real shitty drink. But it kind of looks like a shitty tribal tattoo. So that's that I think that's very on brand. If I turn the light off, it'll knock down it'll be blurry, but you'll at least get a sense of what we're what we're looking at here. 25 calories. I imagine this is just gonna, like, it's so nondescript about its flavor. And when drinks do that, I assume it just is gonna taste like really shitty Red Bull. So let's find out. Yeah. Yep. That's a Red Bull smell. It's a bootleg Red Bull smell, but it's a Red Bull smell. We should just delete this entire list, and I should just go back to drinking Red Bull. I love Red Bull. I love Red Bull. So it's a great drink. The sugar-free versions I don't think are very good, and all of that, but I love the taste of Red Bull. And I pretty much always have. But at the same time, this is a sharp top 10 here. I've been drinking these Redcon Cali Splashes on the off days because we have a full case of it here. And getting through some of the C4 WWE drinks and trying to make my way. It's like, if only I was tired enough to drink 2 a day, then maybe I could get through all of these extra cases of drinks more quickly. No, I'm not gonna do that. In fact, I don't know. I had a handful of days here where I just didn't drink any caffeine at all, and then days where I drank caffeine and it did nothing for me. It's been a real roller coaster. That I don't know how much of that is parenthood and how much, because the sleep schedules around this house for the adults anyway are a freaking disaster. But anyway, I don't know. Let's try this and get into some video games. Yeah, I mean it's a low rent Red Bull, a low rent diet Red Bull. Like the type of bootleg shit you would get at a bar. where when you ask for a Red Bull, they go, "Oh yeah, we got a Red Bull." But yuck. Behind that Red Bull flavor is lies disaster. For you, it's sacrifice. This is yeah, it's up front. Up front, there's a real solid Red Bull like flavor, and then the back end has been pretty random. Or I guess the aftertaste has been getting worse with every sip, is what I would say. Yeah, this ain't no Red Bull. It's fine, but ugh, makes you miss the good stuff. Like what? Someone bought a Red Bull and stepped on it with, I don't know, fucking with a baby aspirin. No, that would make it better. One thing you might not know about me: love the taste of baby aspirin. But it's like yeah, someone definitely cut this with baby powder before shipping it out or something. It's real. Yeah, not good. In fact, getting bad. This is it is worse than the sugar-free Rockstar Throwback, which is another kind of bootleg Red Bull sort of situation. It's worse than that. I would rather drink a Bang Miami Cola. I would rather drink Tiger's Blood. Like this is almost it's a worse crime than you think, because it's like, hey, we took a Red Bull and fucked it all up. That's the worst. Yeah, this is pretty bad. It's not Colt Flaming Mangoes bad. Let's not get it too crazy here. It is worse than. Yeah, actually, I would rather drink a Muscle Farm Combat Energy Black Cherry, which was not a good drink. We still have a case of that. Was a variety pack, so there's more Muscle Farm Combat Energy in our future as well. Thanks to whoever sent that. There was not a name on the package. Ocelot asks, does preloading games do any good? You know, I was just I preloaded Immortals of Avium. That's the last game I preloaded on Steam. And it definitely took longer to decode and unpack the preload than it would have if I had just downloaded it. That's a question of how fast is your internet and how fast is Steam on that specific day. Because I installed Armored Core the day that came out, and it took forever to download. I don't think they offered a preload for it, and that's probably why, their servers were getting slammed or whatever. But I'm having a bad time with this beverage. It is not as bad as Colt Flaming Mangoes, though. We know that. So I would probably. Would I rather drink a Bang Lemon Drop Sweet Iced Tea? I don't. Yes. Wired X 344. Was that is it Wired X? Is the X just part of the logo, or is it, it's like so nondescript in other. This was a fun thing to do with video game titles for a long time, trying to figure out like what is the full legal name of this game, including capitalization. And at one point, we had a very well-maintained game database back on GameSpot back in the day. And we were very careful to have the full legal name of the game, but within reason. So some game companies, and this still happens from time to time, where whenever they write out their name of their game in a press release or any kind of legal way, they write it in all caps. And we would say, no, we're not gonna have your game listed on the site in all caps. That's shitty. We're not gonna write it like that. That's terrible. So within reason, we would stick to the legal name. And then our product database got merged. We were purchased by Ziff Davis, the ZDNet, and became part of the Ziff Davis family. And then that led to a redesign of the site that they forced upon us, I think in the year 2000. And they forced their shitty CMS, their shitty tools, their absolute garbage fucking tech onto us, as well as their product database. So we suddenly lost the ability to just go in and say, hey, a new game got announced. We need to go type it into this form. And now we have a page on the website for that game. Suddenly there was a whole team somewhere else in fucking Delaware. You know, there was like the product team. And so if a game got announced late, you sent it off to them and you're like, well, shit. I guess we won't have a page for this game up until tomorrow morning sometime. What a cool fucking way. What a cool thing. And also their product database was full of garbage because it was a product database for technology. Like, you know, it was cell phones and fucking, you know, it was everything. Refrigerators, like everyone was expected to use this same garbage data warehouse. And they had things in there like Unreal Tournament was listed as Unreal Tournament for Windows with Unreal Tournament in all caps and Windows in all caps. And so suddenly we had pages on our site that were called Unreal Tournament for Windows. And we had to have a lot of meetings and a lot of like, no, you need to let us create our own products and also have our own names for the products that appear on the site so that your garbage names don't appear. It was all fucked up. All that stuff is based around the ability for you to click a button and check prices. The reason why central product databases like that exist is so that they can tie pricing data to it, so that they can have an affiliate business based on like, did you know that this game is $39 on Amazon and $39 on GameStop and $39 on, and it's $39.88 over at Walmart, and you know, like, fucking terrible. It was such a hassle. It was such a fucking hassle. The internet, working for the internet it's working for big companies. I think it's even if it's not on the internet. I mean, what's not on the internet anymore? All big companies are internet companies, I guess. Congratulations to Wired X 344 Energy, I guess. I don't know. Our new number 118. It's garbage. It's not good. It's in fact bad. Okay. Let's get into some video games. I don't want to drink the rest of this. I don't think I'm going to drink the rest of this. Yeah, the aftertaste on that is really rotten. Really rotten. Really rotten. Okay. Moving on. Let's play some Karateka. This is this is an astounding collection here. This is called The Making of Karateka. This just came out. Perhaps I will appear on your screen momentarily. Oh. Sometimes when it breaks, it breaks. NVIDIA Broadcast. It's bad software. It's a miracle sometimes that any of this stuff works at all. Okay. So, this is the first entry in the Gold Master series. If you played Atari 50, I think you'll be very familiar with the layout and basic format of this. The difference being that this is about a single game and telling the story of the Making of Karateka, which is a classic game. We'll look into some of the we'll kind of go through some of this a little bit, but you know, I'm not going to sit here and watch the full documentary. You should buy it if you want to see that stuff.
So, this is a Media Mate, and it contains a bunch of 5 and a quarter inch discs.
I got like 5 of those in my garage.
Classics here and here, including Wolfenstein and Beyond Castle Wolfenstein, which inspired us later. And just behind that is the game, Karateka.
I like how none of his discs are originals.
So good.
I remember seeing Karateka and wanting it, and then not have enough money to buy it. But I think I saved up some money, and I eventually went back and got it. I was sold on the box artwork alone. Kind of told a story. I remember the illustration was really well done. And again, just kind of told a story of what that game was. And yeah, eventually I picked it up and started playing it.
When I first loaded it up, what I expected was something down the lines of Karate Champ or similar head-to-head beat-em-ups. Instead, what I got was a cinematic experience. That's what blew my mind, right? The fact that it started with, a text crawl, right out of, which to my mind, that was right out of Star Wars, right? That cinematic experience is the thing that was just amazing, right? It was the most movie-like experience I'd ever had in a video game at that point.
It really felt like, you're a karate hero in a movie. That's fantastic. All the other things feel like bleeps and bloops, and this is like, movie making. It was amazing.
Yeah, I was just very impressed by the
also bleeps and bloops, but
the animation. And the kicks look great. The punches look great. They were always capped off with a little bit of a sound, a little kia. Yeah, the fluidity of the motion, I think, really set the stage for the rest of what I had consumed about that game.
The animation was cool, and that was very innovative, obviously, at the time. The process and
man, this guy's got a setup. This is great. Look at that's great video quality for like a webcam shot, especially compared to John Tobias.
Taking cues from the movie industry.
This is a great crisp shot. Look at this.
I think the storytelling was probably one of the first. I can't think of another game at the time that had that element to it.
The characters were not little sets of pixels. They, in fact, were fully formed individuals. They had personalities. They had strengths and weaknesses. You've got to remember the level of graphics that people were doing at that time, and they were on the sophisticated side for that time.
Karateka was historically a very significant game, and it saw the future before anybody else did. Part of it was because it understood the language of cinema, that visuals mattered, that full motion mattered, that human beings and characters and characterization, and storytelling and music mattered.
There's a whole segment, I think, later on about the pronunciation of the game, which is fun. So yeah, they've got good scans of some of Jordan Mechner's actual floppies, I guess, here, and it's a machine language high-res shoot-'em-up video game. So yeah, this goes through a lot of, the various aspects of producing the game, from the early parts of Mechner making a game called Death Bounce, and and then kind of post-release of Karateka, like the sequel. And this is what I was talking about yesterday, where you kind of see pardon me, little hints and bits and pieces of what would later become Prince of Persia. And so here's the stuff. Here's the stuff that's playable. We've got multiple versions of Karateka. We got the original Apple II, which we'll get into here. And you do have some options here for, 6-button controls is how it played on the keyboard, and kind of curious. Okay. So punch, punch, punch. So you could, this, the 6-button control setup is mapped like a fight stick. And so you could, in theory, play Karateka on a fight stick, which is, pretty amazing. Enhanced frame rate. Wow. Let's play without that first and then turn that on. I haven't dug through too much of the emulated kind of original ones here. But I guess my other question here is not to just sit here and... Okay, yeah, it does have keyboard support, yes. So I played this game on a keyboard. Because, especially on an Apple II, at school, nonetheless, like, school Apple IIs did not have joysticks because you were not using them to play games, except all we did is use them to play games. I never owned an Apple II, but I played this version of Karateka a lot. The joystick controls, and I think a lot of the controls, like why I'm going with the 6-button, is that you just get more control over whether you want high, medium, or low, and it's separated from your movement. And so you're really in more control of the character with the keyboard. Especially Apple II joysticks were analog devices, and so you would often have to calibrate them before playing every single game, and they were often had wide ranges of motion. These really thin joysticks with oftentimes 2 buttons. Yeah. Got him. Bop, bop. Not yet. That last. Yeah. Let's see what enhanced frame rate looks like. Oh, right. Right. This whole thing, but we talked about it. Oh God, yeah. Came in too hot. Came in too hot. So I didn't see this in this side B thing I never saw because no one had original copies of Karateka. But if you put the original disc in upside down, you got this. Which is this is very silly. It's a very silly goof. Was this? I think this was specific to the Apple II version. I don't know that they did this for the other versions. We'll find out. We'll take a look at the other ones and see if they have this option. But I don't think they did. But yeah, this was something I had only heard about, and I heard about like years later. And then when Apple II emulation kind of became more of a thing, I think I saw it at some point there. But like I said, I don't know that I've ever seen an actual original Karateka disc in my life. Yeah, so no upside down Commodore 64 version. Yeah, get him. Oops. I mean, the Apple II audio capabilities were not fucking great. Why did the enemy heads change? Because they're wearing different hats. Some of them have are wearing animal skulls on their head. They're extreme dudes. They live on a weird island working for a guy named Akuma. Okay, come on. No block? No block. What? It's for cowards. More fighting games just have no blocking. An all dodge based setup here. You can play a little footsies here. Punching has its place in this game, but I find I'm a kick man. Oh, nope. This guy's masked up. That's smart. You never know who's going to come crawling on your island and what weird diseases they're going to bring with them. Yeah, stunting on him, getting out of my stance mid fight. The benefit of the punch is that you can punch forever. Kicks come in batches of 3. But you can just unload and miss over and over again. I like that you can still see the mountain through the window. It's a cool effect. Whoa. That was weirdly... Did the Commodore version just do that, or is that a glitch? Yeah, that's weird. Maybe that's something with the enhanced frame rate turned on. It's some kind of funky thing. I don't know. Uh-oh. Shit. Dick. I'm having a much better time with this game. So I was playing it a couple weeks ago when I first got it in, and just the joystick controls with 2 buttons, because when you're playing with 2 buttons, you are pushing up and down and forward, to get your highs and lows, and it's not how I played this game. Like, I always played it on a keyboard. I guess I should just punch. Maybe that's where to punch, because you can just unload with the punches. And so playing with 6 button turned on, is much closer to that keyboard experience, because you have 1 button per attack. And also, again, it is masterful that they are mapped in such a way that it is very much Street Fighter. Like, we could just plug in a fight stick and play. Oh man, playing Karateka on a fight stick. I can't. I'm not going to do it here today, but. Only because I'm too lazy to move this fight stick over. Was there ever a versus mode? There were a lot of different ports of this game. I don't think... maybe like Game Boy had a link cable versus mode or something like that. But I've never seen it. But I think Game Boy may have had something. How much was Mortal Kombat Mythologies inspired by something like this? I wonder. I mean, obviously John Tobias was a Karateka player. He was still kicking around. He was still there at that point. I bet it's something that it was at least like thought about in some capacity. Like, I don't know that I would say that Mortal Kombat Mythologies Sub-Zero is like directly inspired by Karateka or anything like that, but I'm sure that they were very much aware of like this game as fighting game type stuff in a side-scrolling kind of way. But this game, you never have to deal with jumping or any of the yeah. I always fuck up the gate. I think you have to basically slowly step forward to get it to fall, and then once it's fallen, you can walk through it. I always forget the gate protocol. And then we have the Atari version. Let's there's no settings here other than controls. No oh, that's right, we can rewind. I could have just rewound my way past the Is there a start button I'm missing? What? Like that pauses and that rewinds, but maybe you can't skip the scroll in this one. You say, I think you just hit A. I assure you, I have pressed A. And it works in the other versions of the game. It does not work in the Atari version. So maybe that scroll was unskippable on Atari or something. I don't remember, I was an Atari guy as a kid, and had an Atari home computer when this game came out, but I don't know that I ever saw this version. I think I strictly saw it on Apple II. I don't know that I ever saw the Commodore 64 version until, well, I didn't encounter a C64 for quite a while. Oh, this is like a demo. I'm not even in the game. It's not even. Like this just pauses it. Is there something with if I'm... Yeah, there's something with some kind of bug where you cannot start the game when you are in 6-button control mode. You can fall in the water, like we could fall off the cliff and stuff. Like that's another goofy death. This one maybe, yeah, okay. It's starting to pick up speed, but as I say, man, this is kind of scrolling is a little rough, on the old Atari. Oh, ah, ah. I think the Commodore version probably actually feels the best between the three. At least playing them kind of back to back like that with the 6-button stuff turned on. But here, this is what I was talking about on the podcast yesterday. This is the remastered version of it that they produced to go along with this. And this is so impressive. This thing is so cool. Is the Game Boy version? No, so there are... Presumably for rights reasons, I'm guessing, because they don't, the NES version's not here, the Game Boy, MSX, PC 98, like there's a lot of the Japanese ports, like none of those are here. I'm guessing again because the rights probably don't lie with Jordan Mechner on it, so they probably weren't able to do that or something. But so we can actually give ourselves more lives, which is fun. And have a HUD that shows us the time and goals. I'll play one with commentary off and then do commentary on so you can get a sense of what that's like. Like this is, I think about all the other ports of this game and, you know, that XBLA game and how off the mark that was. And then look at this, you know, I think this is like incredible. Is there a... I guess there's no 6-button mode for this. But they did make a new manual, a new old manual. Like it's got, yeah, there's so many more frames, but also it still maintains the basic look and feel. Like they added that in, so you see that guy running, you see the guy that you just beat up running back to like report in. Yeah, fuck that guy. Hang on a sec, I gotta take a quick phone call here. My wife is calling. I'll be right back. Okay. All right. I'll bust you in your head. So that's how you trick them. You say you're gonna, and then kicks to the body. See you suckers later. Yeah, I'm really impressed with just the quality of this. Cool reflections here. Like it captures the feel. Like this is the game Karateka is in your head, you know? And you go back and play it on the Apple II and you forget, like, oh, this runs at like, 12 frames a second or something, you know? Fuck you! I'm never gonna hit that bird. 40 years of trying. No hit encounter. So yeah, I guess like that it does have me thinking like what would be the next. I think there are a lot of games that I would love to see get this style of treatment. The documentary is fantastic. I haven't even watched the whole thing, but what I've seen of it's good. And like we were saying like I was saying on the podcast, like, a lot of it comes down to like availability of material and people and all that other stuff, right? So it's probably not as easy as just like pick a game and do it, because you might pick a game and start to investigate like fucking dick. I was trying to do it. And so there might not be enough people or documents to do a really good documentary that could carry a full release the way that this does. Like, there's a ton of material here. You have pre-release versions of the game, like a lot of cool stuff. I think, you could say, hey, like, Prince of Persia would be a game that would definitely be worth it, but at the same time, back to back, or, doubling the... There we go. Fuck that gate. Oh, we have to wait. Okay. Hooray. I said Lode Runner would be, like, just from a video game perspective, would be good. The creator of Lode Runner, Dougie Smith, is no longer with us. Oh, right. Yeah, so there's stuff in this version that is not in the full game. This is some stuff that was thought of, I guess, for the original game, but didn't make it in. No claw encounter. Yeah, so that whole cat sequence is not in actual Karateka. That's something that I guess was an original concept back then that they weren't able to do. Bust that door down. Nope, not smart enough to get through the door. There. Like just far enough away to mess it up. We got a skill check. Look at this door. Oof. Oh, that guy's we're just busting shots. Let's get in there and throw him. Like, we can kind of sit here forever, because he's going to gain health back. It kind of forces you to eventually be more aggressive and expose yourself to finish shit off. But I'm trying to, yeah. Ah! Ah! Yeah, that's right. Fuck you. Ugh. Damn it. I'm missing the timing every single time. I hate this. Oh my god. This stupid bird. Stupid bird. Goddamn bird. Fucking bird. Fuck you, bird. Asshole bird. This motherfucking bird. Asshole. The bird's a real fuckface. Bird. There's commentary as well, which will I'll show you a little bit of how that kind of works.
Hello, I'm Mike Micah, president of Digital Eclipse, and I'm here to talk about the remastering of Karateka.
So you see the little bits up top there.
How do you pronounce the game? That's the fun part of this whole thing. And one of the fun parts for me going into this was listening to how everybody pronounces the game that I work with. I pronounce it, and I've always pronounced it, and you're going to hear me say this all the time, is Karateka. But then I've heard people say Karateka.
No.
Karateka.
Mm-mm.
And Karateka.
No.
In other ways. But Karateka is the way I've said it. And I think I've run into more people who say it like I do than any other way. But honestly, ultimately, it's up to Jordan. And Jordan pronounces it, and I might get this wrong, but he pronounces it Karateka. Karateka is one of my favorite games of all time. I've even tried to port the game probably 33 years ago now, I think, when I was still in high school, to the Commodore Amiga. So for me, it was a lot of unfinished business. I wanted to get back to porting Karateka, And approaching this project, one of the things that kind of excited me and interested me most was why, outside of the holy trinity of versions of Karateka, did all the other ports just suck? And I think that a lot of that has to do with the fact that people didn't really understand it, or didn't have the source code, or they were just in a completely different frame of mind for this sort of game. Without specifically calling out certain platforms and certain games, what really kind of stood out to me is that people who tried to port Karateka previously approached it in a way that was very common back in the day. Very simple gameplay, very state-driven, the antithesis of cinematic, which is kind of the purpose of Karateka. It's meant to be a movie you play. And their approach was to take a game and make it feel more arcadey and feel very immediate. And as a result, it was just very unnatural and very, very hard to play.
He's exactly right. As someone who played some of those really shitty ports pretty recently, he's 1,000% right. That there's just
the gate was just a large graphic on the Apple II, and it was just impossible to move it around. You couldn't really scroll it very quickly. But it was also a really iconic moment in the game, because when you arrive at the castle, you meet the guard and there's the gate. And that's just like every screenshot of the old Karateka game is pretty much that. And because Jordan wanted to make it parallax, there's some interesting challenges here, because I wanted to draw the gate like he would draw it on the Apple II. So I actually do line draws like you would on an Apple II. So that gate is not a 3D object. It's actually using the same kind of routines that Jordan used, but to draw it in that parallaxing way. So I wanted to approach it the same way that Choplifter and Jordan intended to draw that gate, being parallax in 3D. So it's not a 3D object, but the other thing that came out of it was the gate served as a sort of break in the gameplay of the original game, so it could show a cutscene. He mainly did that because he needed to load data into the game, and so it was a clever way to get data to load back and forth and use that break to take advantage of that. Since we didn't have that anymore, it seemed really odd to be going through this 3D gate and then have it stop and go to a cutscene. It just didn't fit anymore. So going back over the game and reading through the journals again, there was some more stuff he wanted to do cinematically with the game. Particularly, I believe, whether in conversation or in his book, he talked about having the guard start running toward Akuma to go tell him, and you see that. So this is an opportunity to have that happen. So when you get past the gate and you encounter the next player or the next enemy, when you take down that enemy, that's when the cutscene triggers, and you see the other one guard going the opposite direction to go run up to tell Akuma that somebody's arrived. And so I was able to capture that moment too.
That's pretty incredible, I think. You know, like the idea of like going back to whether it was journals or his book or, you know, some of that other stuff to just like learn about the things that maybe didn't make the final cut and being able to realize that, I think is really cool.
If I approach this as it being just a modern PC remaster, that's already been done. There was already another Karateka that was kind of a modern take on Karateka.
Yuck.
My fascination sat with the idea that I wanted to figure out what the obstacles were to people who were porting the game and try to understand why that was so challenging. Because I think when you first look at Karateka, on its surface, you're like, all right, one-on-one combat, very simple mechanics, that should be easy to do. But it really isn't. And when you start digging into Jordan's code, you start to realize he had created basically the perfect clockwork version of a fighting game that was very cinematic, but on top of that, he had spent a couple years really optimizing everything to just work perfectly. If you just move one byte this way or one byte that way, the game breaks. And it was like the ultimate optimization. For me to approach this then and try to port it, it's easy to do a port to a modern system because you can do anything you want. It's like, it's beyond the scope or the realm of anything else that you would need to worry about. There's no limitations, so you don't have to optimize. So in my mind, I wanted to go back and kind of approach it in the way that the team that ported Prince of Persia, Jordan's other game, did to the PC, the VGA PC. That was a version, if you look at the Apple II version, you look at the PC version, they're very different, and they play great, but the PC version is like this, it's a system that had so much more power, yet showed restraint and kind of worked within the limitations of what the original platform was so that it retained the feel and look of that original game. So for me, I created basically a fantasy platform. I created was essentially like a VGA PC or an Amiga, very similar to the machine I originally tried to port this game to many years ago. I approached it like that. So I created my own system with its own limitations, so that I had a target platform that I could take the original game and try to make it work on. And from that, I was hoping I would find all these obstacles that everybody else ran into.
So anyway, I think that's it's just the commentary stuff I think is awesome. Like the process of porting the game and as you're doing so, kind of learning about what, you know, like an additional level of what made this game special. I think Mike does a great job of conveying that in a very real way that's easy to understand. And adds a lot of value. I think, you know, like it's the sort of thing, again, I think Karateka is a game, I think if you don't have any original history with it, you know, it can be hard sometimes to truly understand why, you know, like why it is looked upon so favorably. But, you know, between all the kind of documentary stuff, you know, included throughout all of this, and, you know, being able to go and play the games themselves, I think that stuff is fascinating. And again, I think it's not easy to tell these stories and convey this information in ways that I think are going to be extremely easy for average people like you and me to understand. You know, not being game developers and all of that. And so I think that the remaster with the commentary, I think, kind of pulls all of that together and really helps you understand a lot of that. So there's another game on here, Death Bounce, which was something that, you know, was also being done for the Apple II and went back and forth through a few different prototypes that were, you know, some were very and a couple games that are very much asteroids, very much Apple II asteroids. We can actually just hit watch. They've recorded. If you don't want to play the games, you can watch. They've recorded playthroughs of them that you can, you know, just take a look at. The Apple II. I remember playing a lot of Apple II games that were very much like this level of quality. Not to say they're bad per se, but the Apple II is a interesting platform. I think, you know, for me, a lot of the reason why it's interesting is because I never owned one, but all the schools had them, and so it was. I always had I had quite a lot of time to, you know, look at Apple II software and play Apple II games, and, you know, I eventually had a box of Apple II games, even though I didn't own an Apple II. You know, that I could bring to school and play. And so this is the other remastered game as part of the collection. So this game's called Starfield. I'm sorry, I'm breaking the embargo here, but, you know, just felt you know, people needed to know that here we have space combat. You know, Star Castle mixed in. We blew up the space train. And now there's another space train. Infinite space trains. So this is like a pretty fun little thing too, you know. It's no Karateka. But I think, you know, like this helps kind of illustrate. I think, you know, the presence of this. It's cool. It feels like there's a lot here. Which for, you know, a largely documentary-based thing about a single game, you know, you start to wonder, like, oh, is there going to be enough to play or whatever? And the prototypes are interesting, but, you know, they might not be things that you're going to go back to over and over again, right? I think, in fact, when I go back to this, it will be to play the remaster of Karateka. And maybe this, I don't know, maybe mess around with this, but like there's between that, the documentary, the video footage, the interviews, the materials and stuff, I think the $20 asking price, when you think about, you know, like if this was just a produced documentary that was sold on Blu-ray, how much would they charge for it with no playable video games? And the answer is probably somewhere around $20, maybe even 30. So, you know, I don't know. It's a weird value conversation to have, but I think that there's a lot here, and a lot of it is very interesting. So I guess that's a death bounce there. Oh, I gotta get it. Ah! Fuck that space train. Go. Shit. I guess that's game over. Two trains. Two trains! Oh, well. I guess I should have read the part where the trains were going to collide into Earth. I might have tried a little harder. I like the two character initials entry. That's a nice little touch. Anyway, yeah, it's got a lot of neat stuff, and so yeah, you can kind of see like, hey, here's these Yeah, the remaster is a little more entertaining, I might say. I don't know. than some of these prototypes. But I guess this game was never actually shipped, I think is the thing here. We get to these prototypes, but then, you know, you kind of get to this space train prototype that Broderbund eventually passed on. Go to the front of the train. Anyway, you get the idea. So yeah, you know, Atari 50 was a great first step in this direction and covered a lot of ground. And it's just really cool to see this intense level of focus on this game and this period in time, and the prototypes and other stuff that Mechner was working on, like Death Bounce and some of the other stuff that kind of was happening right around there. And it's great. It's really great. I hope that, you know, if they can make 20 of these, that'd be, if they make 1,000 of these, I don't know that there's 1,000 games. Are there 1,000 games worth this level of treatment? Probably. If we go across the entire history of games, but yeah, it's really cool. Really, really cool. And it's $20. It's out on consoles and PC and stuff, and it's yeah, you should check it out. I think the story behind the game is fascinating. You know, some of the like rotoscoping techniques and some of the other stuff that you know went into making it. There's just a lot of, like, it was always a fascinating game that felt very much unlike all of the other games that were coming out around the same time. And it's nice to hear the story about why. You know, which some of this stuff, you know, it had been out there over the years. You know, Jordan Mechner had given talks and been out and about, and, you know, some of the stories about the game had gotten out there. But to have this really kind of cohesive package that kind of frames it all up, and, you know, the other things that were happening around that time, I think is rad. It's really cool. Yeah, I don't know what you would do for another one of these games. There was a rumor for a while there that they were going to do like a collection of Jeff Minter's things, and I don't know that that's actually true. But that would be a weird one. Like, you know, Tempest would be interesting, but like Tempest 2000, you know, you would put original Tempest as the game, and then you would maybe do Tempest 2000 as like an additional thing to that. And I don't know that there's probably a story. Well, I don't know. The story of all of the versions of Tempest eventually becomes Atari fucking over Jeff Minter. And so on and so forth. So I don't know that that's necessarily the thing to do there, but yeah, I don't know. And obviously, you know, Tempest 2000 I think is in that, it's in Atari 50 already, so, you know, there's kind of, that stuff's already been done.